Hey everyone, welcome to Back at the Ranch, Expedition Online's after show. We are here tonight with our winner, Trent. Welcome to the ranch.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
Congrats on pulling out the big W. You had such a fun journey to watch, and it's awesome to see you sitting here because I specifically remember on day 0, you were painted as a huge target by multiple people.
Really?
Right out, oh yeah, you obviously wouldn't know because it hasn't aired yet, but
Right.
a couple people right out of the gate were like, Trent is strategizing so much, we got to get this guy.
Well,
They
they were
did.
right. They were right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
strategized hard from day one.
so right out of the gate, are you a big Survivor fan, or did you just kind of know about this from watching Gideon?
Oh no, I'm a huge Survivor. Sorry, my phone's ringing.
Oh,
My
that's
sister's
okay.
calling me. I mean, hanging that up. I'll call her back. Yeah, I'm a huge Survivor fan. I love it. I watched the very first season with Richard Hatch winning,
Yes.
and I've watched them all since. I love the show Survivor. Just absolutely am crazy about it.
Oh
I've
yeah.
applied to Survivor multiple times.
Why
So
haven't they picked you?
I know. I don't understand why they don't pick me and put me on the show. They should.
Maybe this will give you some street cred and they'll reach back out.
Let's hope so. I tell you, I would go in a heartbeat.
You would be great. Gideon would be too.
Oh, Gideon would be awesome. Yeah,
Blood versus water.
yeah, that would be awesome. If he and I have always said if we could go on the show together, oh, we would be an awesome duo.
I hope that's in your future. But for
I
now,
hope so. That would be a dream come true.
we'll do a little prep at Expedition.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
day 0, you're dropped in the room with all these random people. What were your first thoughts?
Well, the first thing I try to do is I try to make alliances just right off the bat. My only fear in this show was the first vote. I'd always told my kids, I told them, I said, if I can just get past the first vote, then I'll be fine. But that first one's so unpredictable. You never know what people are going to do. You don't know, you haven't had enough time to really get in there and connect with everyone. And so, you get into a vote and who knows who they might go for. Just any reason would do it all. So I was nervous about the first vote, but after we got through that, I felt really good.
Yeah. And so the first couple votes were kind of weird. So Solo quits on the Kiwa party, and then you guys do your vote when you lose. That ends up giving Rosemary a clue to the compass instead of voting her out. And then her and the Face Goddess do a 2-for-1 quit the next day. How surprised were you by that?
Yeah, I was really shocked. I had no clue. Even I knew they were both from Atlanta, and I thought, oh, this is strange. And I thought it'd be so easy for them to meet each other, but I had no clue that they were roommates.
Yeah.
So when they both showed up in the same screen, of course I immediately knew, oh, well, they're gone, they're out of the game. So, but it kind of made you nervous too, because, that was kind of our first 2 easy votes, really. I mean, we kind of had them lined up, and then all of a sudden now they're gone. So now we re-scrambling thinking, okay, who is the target now that we've lost those 2?
Did you guys talk about that at all to prep in case you lost again?
No, we never really strategized and figured out, who. That's an interesting question. Who would have been the target? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Like,
Because fortunately we won. We won immunity, and so we never really had to decide. But we probably would have been scrambling, trying to figure out who the next target would have been.
yeah.
So,
I forgot to ask you before too. So when the parties were picked, what were your thoughts about who was on your team and who were you most excited to work with?
I was most excited to work with Austin. And he was the one person, I had worked hard to make connections with 5 people on day 0, and I got one of them. I thought, I really wanted more than just that one. So when they divided us up, I thought, oh, I've got a lot of work to do, because I had Austin. I felt really good about him, but I mean, that's just one person. So then I immediately started scrambling, and we formed a pretty good little alliance. And but like you said, I mean, I know they were secretly looking for an opportunity to get rid of me probably the whole time, but it's got to be the right time and the right move. And so, fortunately, they never figured it out, or figured out when was the right time to get me. So they never did get me. So,
Yeah.
so it worked out pretty good.
Shame on them.
Yep.
So, okay. So we get to, you guys win the next challenge. That's when JJ the man goes home. Then after that, the dreaded party swap. And you end up in a good place. You're still on Shira and the Majority Alliance. But unfortunately, your buddy Austin and Lindsay both go to Kibo and get the old swap screw.
Right.
And then
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
it was good that you guys were able to save Austin the first night, and which ended up in Lindsay ultimately going home. But yeah, the next day there was nothing you guys could do to save him, unfortunately, and they all had him painted as a huge target, which I don't blame them because he was playing really good.
Yeah, Austin was a really good player. Carl and I had even had a discussion about throwing that challenge, and which I just cannot do. I just don't feel like that's a good move, for several reasons. Number one, you're putting yourself at risk, and you want to save your people, but do you really want to put yourself at risk because they could play idols? And I know Carl, he was like, well, maybe we should not give 100% and throw that challenge. But I always think that's a mistake, and I can't do that. I can't give up a challenge, no matter what the circumstance. I think it could just end up burning you. So yeah, I didn't want to do that, even if it cost us, to be, you could be down in the numbers, but and I always said that in the game. I played the game assuming that everything would change between every vote. So I didn't really worry about numbers. I never really worried about numbers. I just constantly thought things will keep flipping and flipping and flipping and changing and changing. And in the end, I just got to get on the right side of the flips.
Yeah, you just have to navigate and keep moving as things change. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers ultimately, like, they don't matter because they change
No,
so often. Um,
correct. Yeah, I agree.
that's interesting that you brought up the potentially throwing a challenge though. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the next vote where Jon Snow goes out, because he had actually wondered when I had talked to him if you guys did throw the challenge on purpose to get rid of one of the minority people, which you just confirmed that you guys didn't.
No, I don't think we threw that challenge. Um, I know Carl would say that he didn't go 100% because he wanted to lose those challenges. And I know there is a certain logic behind that, but I don't know. I just don't think it's a good idea, and because throwing a challenge, you make several assumptions that I don't think you can make, which is that what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and you really don't. So I don't know. I think that's risky. I think it's very risky.
Yeah, you never know, especially like if someone on the minority has a compass you don't know about. And I don't think you guys were aware of this at the time, but Ariana at that time had 6 clues to the compass. And
Wow.
she didn't find it before the vote, but she found it right after.
Well, and I was trying hard to work with Ariana, and I felt like I could trust her. And she was actually the one player in the game I actually trusted.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, she was really the only player that I really trusted. And then, of course, we'll probably deal with that later. Then there comes a point in the game where I thought she had actually turned her back on me, but it turns out she didn't.
Okay.
But I thought Yeah, I thought there was a point. Uh, I thought she and I had 100% were working together, and we were. And I would have, I personally would have been willing to lose the game for her. And I was that loyal to her. And then something happened that caused me to question whether she was that loyal to me. And
Oh,
and,
okay.
and what happened was I jumped into a room with she and Danielle, and they asked me if I would leave. And so when they did that, I thought, why would you ask me to leave the room? Unless you're working against me. And and uh, and then um, I'm trying to remember who was the player that Jordan. Then Jordan jumped in a room. I mean, right after they asked me to leave a room, she jumped in and said, Arleana's trying to vote you out. So that combination of the two things really threw me. That's really the only um, that's really the only mistake I made in the game was misinterpreting that little moment, because I thought Arleana was with me 100%, and she was. And but when those two little coincidences happened back to back, and Jordan didn't even know that had happened. They were just
Oh.
they were just jumping. She was jumping in the room to tell me that, trying to save herself. And but it just so happened when Danielle and Arleana asked me to leave the room, and then she jumped in and just happened to say, "Oh, Arleana's trying to get you out." It just, those two weird events just happened perfectly to make it look like Arleana had turned her back on me when she really hadn't.
Oh, that's interesting. But I mean, that's enough to spook you, those two weird coincidences.
Yeah, it was really strange. And I'll tell you, I didn't realize that Ariana had been loyal to me until we were doing that walk at the end of the game, where you're recognizing all the players, and you're honoring them and talking about them and saying things about them. And we got to Ariana, and Doc said, "This is the one player who always kept their word." And when he said that, I thought, oh my, she was trying to be loyal to me. It wasn't until that, I thought the whole rest of the game, until we got to that point, that she had stabbed me in the back.
That's really interesting. I've never heard this take on everything before.
Yeah,
So
it was a big shock because when they jumped in the room and told me Arleon was trying to get me out, I was in shock, because
yeah,
I was sure that she was the one player that I didn't trust my own alliance. I didn't trust Carl or Laney. I didn't trust any of those people, you know. But I did trust. I know it's ironic. I trusted someone on the other team.
yeah. Sometimes you do find like your best alliance members in the weirdest ways.
Hmm.
But especially with a game that is so fast paced, because like this is the first time we've ever done a week. And so it moves so quickly, unlike the full 3 week version. So you don't really have as much time to address things like that and find out if there's any truth. You just have to go with your gut. Um,
I just had a great feeling about Ariana. And I had tried to meet her on day 0, and I could not get to her. And I kept trying to get to talk to her, and it just never worked out where I could sit down and just talk to her. But when she came and visited our camp, that's when she and I talked one on one, and we made that alliance together. And I told her, I said, I just have a very good feeling about you, that I can trust you, which it goes back to why I wanted to get rid of Jon Snow, because I didn't trust him at all.
yeah, he
I like
definitely.
him. I like Jon, but I just thought he would flip, whichever way the wind blew, I thought Jon would flip with.
Yeah, I think he definitely was someone who would play just the kind of anyone but me card.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, flip wherever he needed to. But so yeah, you had voted for John that night, and it
Right.
actually worked. It worked out really well for you that Robin ended up voting and sending John home ultimately.
I was hoping he would, because and the reason why I needed him to pick up on the hint and jump in and vote is because if we had re-voted, Ariana would have went home. I didn't have the numbers to save her on the second vote. I could save her on the first vote, which meant I had to have Robin, which I thought he would. I thought he would understand that, they don't have any time to strategize and throw a vote on me and get rid of me. So I'm going to go ahead and vote and save the one person that I'm trying to save. And see, I had to have that happen in order to save Ariana, because I knew on a revote, Michael was going to jump instead. I had convinced Michael to vote for John on the first vote, but he was going to switch that vote to Ariana if it went to a second vote. So I knew I could not let it go to a second vote. So the trick was, well, it was just a gamble, but I was hoping Robin would do it, and he did. So it saved my plan.
That's so interesting listening to you talk about your perspective of this, because everyone else on your team, old tribe that I've talked to, had no idea that he was going to do it. They were completely shocked.
Right.
And we as mods were really shocked too. But this just shows how good of a read you had on the game. And yeah,
Yeah, I knew I was the only one on my tribe that wanted, well, and probably the reason they didn't see it is because I was the only one that wanted Ariana to stay. And it took a lot of work to save her on that vote, because that's when I had to try to convince them we got to go 3-3 in case they've got an idol, and then hoping that Robin would jump in, and then thankfully he did. Because like
yeah,
I said, that really, that moment right there may have been what caused me to win the game,
yeah,
because I think Ariana protected me at least once, maybe twice, that kept the target off of me. And so, Ariana was a big part of my game. And I really, probably the only regret I have in this game is I didn't get to play with her longer. And that weird coincidence happened where, it sure, to anyone with any brain at all, it just looked like she had turned her back on me. I mean, I don't know how else I could have perceived that. And that's the one mistake I made in the game, was not just continuing to trust Ariana when I was convinced at the beginning that I could trust her 100%, and I could have, but it's just that weird coincidence. There's
yeah,
two things that happened back to back that just threw it, unfortunately.
yeah. And as much as you want to like give someone the benefit of the doubt, but if it looks suspicious, you have to just protect yourself as much as you can in that moment.
Well, and another tricky thing too was I could tell that Ariana was flipping, but she was flipping on her alliance. And I interpreted the way she was acting that she was flipping on me.
Uh,
So, because she had this stone cold look at tribal, and I kept thinking, oh, she's flipping. I could tell that she was flipping, and I thought, oh my goodness, I knew she was flipping. There was no doubt of her body language was saying she's flipping, she's flipping, she's flipping. And so when those two things happened, then you could say those three things, but I read it wrong, and she was flipping on the other alliance. Now, it may have worked out in my favor anyway, because if I had voted with Ariana, then it would have been a 4-4 tie, and then that would have thrown me at risk.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
So it may have paid off that I didn't catch that, because I thought they were voting against me. And then when I saw all the votes that they didn't go for me, they went for somebody else, I realized that, well, I missed the boat somewhere. So either they changed the target at the last second, or that wasn't the plan. So then I had to try to figure that out. Which did they change their target at the last second, or was it never me in the first place, and that Jordan just lied to me? So, and it turned out Jordan lied to me, but it actually worked out in my favor anyway.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So yeah, your relationship with Ariana was like a big catalyst and getting you through the rendezvous. So Michael ends up going home the first night there, which your name was one that was thrown up originally because Robin protected Carl because they had made an alliance on day 0. And then it came down to either you or Michael. But Arliana said, no, I'm not voting for Trent. He was the only person that made an effort to talk to me on the other party. Absolutely not. And her respect for you, her old party mates were like, yeah, we respect that a lot. If this guy was good to you, we're gonna be good to him too.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I tell you, and that's what just kills me because, I had a sincere relationship with Arliana, and when I tried to jump in the room with she and Danielle, I was going to tell them, hey, I will vote with you. That's what I was trying to let them know, was saying I am 100% with you. And then I don't know why they did. And, I would love to talk to them and try to find out, why did you guys ask me to leave the room?
mhm.
I mean, it makes no sense. I still don't understand it. I don't understand why they couldn't have just said, hey, here's the target. We're voting this way. We want to meet this other person, but and I think it was Danielle that asked me to leave actually, but it was a terrible, terrible move on their part. I mean, just
Yeah,
awful.
that's
And
a
I
good,
don't understand why they did it, but
that's
it really, that's what cost them the game.
yeah, it's a good question to ask them at the reunion in the future.
I would love to know the answer to that question.
Yeah,
What were they thinking?
it's definitely a bold move to ask someone to leave the room. Like,
Yeah, I just, it makes no sense. I mean, I still don't understand. And it may have been that, and I left. I just left and said, okay, well, I wasn't going to argue with them. So I left. And then I don't know if Arleon later was saying, oh, we shouldn't have done that. I don't, I don't know. I don't know what happened. But
yeah,
it was a big mistake on their part, though.
yeah. And so the next round is where Danielle goes home. How did her name come up? Was your interaction with her from that you just described kind of what threw her name
No,
out?
no. That's I think Carl is the one that misunderstood what he was saying, because he had brought Danielle's name up and said we need to vote Danielle out. And then when he had that talk at tribal council, he said let's vote for the person we originally talked about, and that was Danielle, and it was his idea. But for some reason he thought it was Robin, that he was trying to throw a secret hint out to vote Robin out. And and but I took it that we were supposed to vote Danielle out, and then obviously I think my vote's the one that caused Danielle to go. And I thought Danielle had turned her back on me too, when they asked me to leave the room. So I was more than happy to vote for Danielle at that point, because I thought she had betrayed me. And so, and I thought that Robin and Carl had an alliance from day one.
Yep,
Uh,
you're
I,
correct.
I I was on to them. As a matter of fact, I've never said this, but I thought Carl, and this may be wrong or it may be right. I thought he was trying to form a Canadian alliance at one point,
You
and
know, that actually didn't happen, but a lot of people speculated that.
yeah, I thought, and the reason why is, and this is a weird reason. Carl and I, we were talking one time, and we were just in a room, the two. It may have been somebody else in the room, but I think it was just the two of us. And he kept saying, "Well, I feel really good about Jon Snow," and he pointed out several, and I noticed they were all from Canada. And so he kept saying, "Well, I think I can work with this person if we merge." And by coincidence, all of those people were from Canada. And so it made me think, there was Robin, there was Jon Snow. And anyway, and I kept thinking, man, I wonder if he's trying to pull a Canadian alliance. I later realized he wasn't, because, he was willing to vote somebody out who originally was going to be in that alliance. So I scrapped that idea later, but
Yeah,
I just always had it in the back of my head that I need to watch this, just because, I wasn't trying to make an American alliance, a United States alliance. I wasn't trying to do that, but it just that one time he mentioned 5 people, and and it made me think. I was just keeping a loose eye on it. I would watch the numbers and think, okay, we're still okay. We've got a balance between the United States and Canada, but I was just kind of loosely watching it just in case. But he didn't stick with it. I don't know if, uh, at that time, I didn't know if his plan just fell apart or if he never had the plan in the first place. But another thing I did too was whenever Carl would tell me somebody that he really wanted to work with, this is going to be terrible. They got on my list of people to get rid of because I wanted to break up any relationship Carl had with other people so that he would have to work with me, even though I didn't think he really wanted to. But
That's
if
smart.
Yeah, and I always tried to bust up whoever was between me, Carl and me,
That's
or Carl
really
and I.
smart, and it worked for you. Um,
Yeah, and he kind of gave me my target list. Whenever he told me, I really like this person, I think, okay, that's who I got to get rid of.
they're gone.
Yeah, so that Carl would, and that's one of the reasons why Jon Snow became my target because I didn't want Jon Snow getting between Carl and I.
This is so interesting. I love hearing the thought behind everything that you were doing. And it's interesting you say Carl here too, because it was the day zero. Robin, one of the last interactions before it shut down, Robin went to Carl and said, "Hey, Trent is playing really hard. We need to watch him." And from there, the two of them had their eyes on you and had talked about that they're going to have to get rid of you at some point. But yeah, yeah, it's interesting. He was on to you, you were on to him.
Yeah, I knew Carl and I, we both, as a matter of fact, I had talked to Carl at one point in the game. I think it's definitely in one of our conversations. And I think I talked to Robin about that too, which was big targets need to stick together, so that, you kind of serve as a shield for each other. And so I just point blank told Carl, I said, Carl, you're a big target. And he told me at that point, he said, well, I'm trying to downplay it and not be a big target. And I said, well, you're not doing a very good job. I told him, I said, you are a big target, whether you like it or not. And I said, so am I. And so is Robin. And I said, the key is don't get rid of the big targets right now, or then you become the only target. And so, if you've got really good players and big targets, they ought to stick together. And,
Yeah.
of course, I was, you know, thinking I was a big target. I thought I was. It's risky. That first day, I thought, do I play hard and try to make an alliance and make myself a target, or do I just sit back and hope it's not me? And I just couldn't do that. I couldn't just sit back and just hope that it wasn't me, because either they'll think, well, he'd be an easy vote off. He's older than everyone. I mean, I'm not sure. I might be older than Solo. I'm not 100% positive. I don't know how old he is, but it was either Solo or I. So I kept thinking, I've got to. I don't want to be voted off because I'm an easy, weak target. And so I went ahead and played aggressive at the start, knowing that, that it was going to put a target on my back. But I was trying to convince the strong players to stick together so that, we would not be easy to pick off. And it, like I said, it just seemed like it worked.
Oh, absolutely. Like you definitely were a huge threat in the game, but you did a really good job of maintaining your threat level and kind of deflecting it onto other people. Like what my first thought, the first challenge in the rendezvous, when you just like kicked ass at that memory game, I was like, oh my God, Trent didn't win, but he did so good. They're gonna vote him off.
I thought the same thing.
But you
Yeah.
like you do good in the challenges, and you were able to deflect it by like sticking around with Robin and Carl, who definitely they didn't contain their threat level as much. They were very open about it, I feel like. And you didn't really, I don't think anyone picked up on like all of the navigating you were doing behind the scenes and how calculated you were, which was brilliant.
Yeah, they didn't see it at all. You know, that's what I kept thinking the whole game. I said, I now that the game's over, I can say this. Uh, I was thinking and making moves that they never saw. You know, that I don't think they ever understood what I was doing,
No,
and
and
really manipulating votes to go the way I wanted them to go and eliminate people that I wanted eliminated. Just like with Jon Snow, I don't think they ever even thought that was a good vote, but it turned out to be a great vote off for me.
yeah, no, I mean, I think one of the best tips for someone playing this game is to keep what you're doing close to the vest. Don't share what you're doing with everyone, or that's gonna put a target on
Right.
you.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I
you,
thought that Robin and Carl, they're great players, but the big mistake they made was they made themselves way too big of targets, and they were just they were easy to pick, which enabled me to fly under the radar a little bit and get to the point, you know, where uh, you know, I knew that I had to get rid of them, but I didn't want to make that move too soon. Of course, I cut it awful close, almost too close. But I mean, you know, but the good news is I knew I would be able to get one of them. You know, I thought, well, one of them's got to go.
oh
So
yeah,
they,
absolutely.
they both can't win immunity. So I knew I could get one of them for sure. And it was just a matter of getting them at the right time. And then with the people I had left, it was really tricky though, because when it got down to 5, I had to get 3 out of 5 people, you know, and so that was a little hairy. But
Yeah,
I knew I could do it, you know, because I mean, eventually somebody had to lose and go home. So it just was a matter of what order I could get them in, and then could I get that last one at the third vote?
yeah,
That would be the key.
yeah, absolutely. And so the next vote is where Jordan went home, which you had originally voted for Robin, and then the other people voted for Sneha as the backup. But I think Jordan going home worked out in your favor because she was so tight with Robin that it ended up he and Sneha went over to make a final 3 deal with you. So you had your 3 there.
Yeah, I think that's the vote. And there were times where I would vote for Robin just to shake him up. You know, even if I didn't think that I had the votes to send him home. Just like that, where he got that one vote, and he thought his own tribe voted against him, and that was me, because I knew he didn't have enough votes to get rid of him. So I thought, well, and I thought I'm just going to shoot a vote at him just to make him nervous. And it did. It shook that poor guy up. He thought his own tribe voted to shot a vote at him. And that's really what made him mistrust his whole tribe. And it was my vote the whole time. And
That's
he thought it was his own
hilarious.
tribe. So he fell for it. I didn't know if he would buy that or not, or if it would really shake him up, but that was my goal. My goal was to shake Robin up and help him lose some confidence, because
That's
he was running high at the time.
yeah.
So
He was the only person I've ever heard in the history of Expedition who has said at Crossroads that I'm comfortable, I'm fine.
yeah, yeah. When he said that, that made me want to shoot him a vote just to shake him up. So that's what I did. I just thought, well, I, I, you know, because we did not have the votes, you know, so I might as well do something else with my vote. I mean, you know, we were not going to win. We were down 4-3.
Yeah,
So that's why I thought I'm going to try to shake old Robin up here,
I
and
love
it
that.
worked.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it worked. It worked to a T. I mean, that was a big part of my game, because later he mentioned that he said, well, I know that other tribe didn't. I know they all voted together, and so I think somebody on my own tribe voted against me, and that's what caused him not to trust him. And it was me. It was my vote the whole time. So
Yes.
I just sat there and was quiet. I didn't say a word. I was, oh, but that was perfect.
That's amazing. So the next Crossroads, you win exemption at the final 5, and it comes down to Robin again and Carl.
Yeah,
What was your thought in going for Carl over Robin?
I had to break Laney and Carl up, because again, it was that, you know, there were 3 of us, and those 2 were so tight. There were 2 reasons I voted Carl out, and I knew I was going to vote him out. that's another thing too. People talking to me I never had my vote changed. They talk all day and I just listen to them, and I knew I was going to vote Carl out from day one at 5. And so I had to break he and Laney up because those two were just way too close together. And Carl uh, is such he's so good at mental challenges that I really thought I could beat Robin head to head on mental or physical. But Carl, I thought I probably could not have beaten Carl in a mental challenge. I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy, but Carl just I don't know his background, but he just seems off the charts intelligent. So I mean, it was just obvious listening to him talk and how he could formulate arguments that I knew Carl was really a brilliant person. And so I thought, if this comes down to a mental challenge, I felt I could match up with Robin better on either case. Now the trick is I'm positive I could have beat Carl in any physical challenge, but if it came to mental, he would probably beat me. And so that was so that was my thinking. At this point I've got to get rid of Carl because head to head I'll be better against Robin or Laney. I felt good, and I also another thing too I thought about was I also have Schneeha who's helping me. So I knew that if either one of us could knock them out, then we would be able to get them out of the game. So that's why I went that route with Carl first.
Yeah, it was smart. You set yourself up in a great position. And like we said earlier, you ended up working with like the other party. So it's just finding yourself on the right side of the numbers. And you don't always have to be in the original majority alliance. It just depends vote to vote which way when you're in.
Right. And then, and since they couldn't play an idol or didn't have an idol, Carl just point blank told me, hey, my fate's in your hands, and I don't have an idol. I need your help. But, I had already decided to get rid of Carl at that point.
Yeah. Did you ever come close to finding a compass at all, or did you?
No, no, not even close. Well, and it's kind of funny. I've always told, my family that if I ever got on Survivor, I'm not sure I would even look for them. And
Okay.
and and one of the reasons why, of course, this game was a little tricky because in this game, it never really came out that it made you a target having an idol, But normally in Survivor, having an idol just makes you a target. And how many people have been sent home because they've got this false sense of security? And so I never really wanted that. I always wanted to play the game in such a way where I would not have to have an idol, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to have that false sense of security. So to be honest, I really never even looked for them. And
Yes.
I think I only ever got 2 clues anyway. And the first clue was so vague. I tried to find a couple clues, just to see if I would want to think about it, but I never looked. I never went and looked for them. So I was never even close. Which like I said, I thought I need to focus more on the strategy and what's going on in the game and making sure I'm not on the right that I am on the right numbers, and not that I'm relying on this secret, you know. Uh, and then you got to play it right, and the trick is if you get blindsided and you got it, it didn't do you any good anyway. And so the only mistake in my thought process in that whole area was that the compasses didn't make you as big of a target as I thought they were going to. Because I thought, people would think, oh, I think so and so's got it, so we better get them while we can, So I never wanted that target to be on me. And
Yeah.
so I thought I really think that sometimes not having compasses help make you not the target. But it's an odd philosophy. I know.
It's it's a really interesting mindset though. Like I really like the thought behind it, and I see what you're saying. Like I think not having that to fall back on makes you play harder and think of different avenues to advance you in the game. Could you, yeah, it definitely can make you lazy.
Right. So that was always my plan from day one was not to even look for them. And
Okay.
so I wanted to stay focused on, communicating to people, building relationships, being on the right side of the votes, and not being the target of a blind side because I had a compass. So, of course, if I ever got to the point where I just thought I'm doomed, I'm completely hopeless, then I probably would have went out and tried to find one.
What did Gideon say to you about that? Because on the other end of the spectrum, he was just digging for him, finding him without clues.
Well, the Gideon had to. I mean, after the game was over, he and I talked, and we talked. We went and took a walk together, and we were, talking about the game and everything. And that's the one thing he said was, he said, I didn't have a choice. I had to find them, or I knew I was going home that night. And I agree with him. If I had felt that way ever, then I probably would have went out and tried with every, at that point, I probably would have dropped all strategy and just said, well, this is my only hope, then I'm going to go dig and try to find one. But I never thought that I was in that shape. And so, my main thing was trying to be on the right side of the votes, on the right side of the numbers, and having a good, solid plan. And like I said, for me, it worked. For a
Yeah.
lot of people, that would make them extremely nervous. It's kind of like, I think on Survivor's Winners at War, that's what got Tony voted out. He was trying so hard to find those idols that, or no, it was Game Changers. It was Game Changers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think.
'cause he won Winners at War.
Yeah, but anyway, it's as soon as he hit the ground, he just took off running. I'm gonna go find the idol. I'm gonna find the idol. And they just thought, well, we got to get rid of this guy, you know. And I think that's, you know, I think it's a dangerous play if you can somehow find them without people knowing you found it.
Yeah.
Then, but how do you do that? That's the trick. But like I said, it's something that watching Survivor all these years, I always thought about, which was, if I ever get to play this game, I'm not going to look for idols. If people think you've got it, I mean, they're going to go after you, and they're
Yeah.
going to try to blindside you. Just, you're giving people another reason to vote you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in this game, that's what you're trying not to do, is give people reasons to vote you out.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
unless you're so good that you could find one every time, if and I've even had weird ideas about, this is really a crazy idea, about not even competing in immunity challenges, and just,
Oh,
I obviously didn't do it this time, but just to lessen the target on yourself is just to say, you know what, I'm not even going to compete in immunity challenges. So I'm going to play this game without even competing in them.
that's very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that.
No one's ever done it, but it's a thought that I've thought about in the back of my head, which is, to completely remove the target from myself. I'm never going to compete in an immunity challenge.
Yeah.
So it'd be risky. It would definitely, and there's several things that could be risky about that, but you could hurt yourself in the jury, where they might say, well, you didn't even try, or, but it would be a bold strategy. It
Yeah.
sure, but it would just depend on how the game played out.
So I
I
think
mean, every game's going to be so different.
yeah,
So,
you
I
can
mean,
drop the same people on a game a million times and each outcome will be different 100%.
oh, sure. And you'd have to, and that's what I always said, which is you've got to go with the flow and assume the flow is going to change and that's the way I played that game, which was, I just assumed that the dynamics would change between every single vote, and they did.
Yeah, exactly. Like bringing
Of
us
course,
to
I was
the
trying
final.
to, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, finish what you're saying.
Oh, I was just trying to convince people that that was going to be the case. And that's why I kept talking about it, because I wanted it to happen that way. So I
Yeah.
would constantly say, hey, there's going to be vote flips and this is going to keep flipping, flipping, flipping. And I was just trying to sow a seed in their head that's what and it did. It worked. And it was funny to watch it, to see them constantly flipping after, I had tried to convince them that we were going
Yeah.
to flip the votes every single time, and then to see them turn around and do it when it wasn't even in their best interest. The seeing the other tribe break up when they could have easily voted Carl, Laney, and myself out, 3 big targets, and they didn't do it. It's just hilarious. you
Yeah, they
know
let you guys get to the final 5. What are they doing?
I know it was so funny to see, because and of course shooting that vote at Robin, shaking him up, and then constantly planting the seed that, hey, they're gonna flip. You better not be the one without a seat. And so it just scared them. And sure enough, they started turning on each other and flipping on each, which is what I needed. I was down 5-3. I had to convince them to flip.
Yeah.
And they did it. They did
I
it.
I love that you planted that seed in people's minds, because that's definitely how the game went. Everyone flipped on their original alliances, and
Mm-hmm.
you could see, like, I think you set the tone for how people were going to play by planting that seed in people's head, because no one really seemed like that upset when people did flip. They just accepted, this is how we're playing, this is the game. um and so like that kind of brings us to like the final 4 vote, where you originally were on Lainey's party and she ended up going home, and you went to the final 3 with Robin and Sneha.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was the right move. I really, and I said it in that tribal council, that if Laney makes it to the final, then she's got Carl pushing her on the jury, and that is dangerous. That's like, in season 2, I'm 100% convinced that who the guy that won,
Justin.
Justin. Yeah, I knew it was Jay, and my mind just went blank for a second. Justin. Justin ought to send Gideon a thank you card.
He
Because
should.
Gideon was his biggest cheerleader, and I mean, Gideon made such a compelling argument for Justin, and Carl would have done the same thing for Laney, and would have just laid it out, and probably would have convinced a lot of people, because Carl is, I mean, he is just super brilliant. I mean, he really he makes great arguments. They make logical sense. Unfortunately, he outthought himself a couple of times. He thought too hard, and he I think he confused himself
He's too
several
smart for his own good.
times. And I really do. I think several times he really, I think he was trying to confuse other people, but he ended up confusing himself sometimes. But I mean, but he would have done a great job. And Lainey was a good player too on her own. So
Yeah.
if you put those 2 combinations together, you put a great cheerleader on the jury pushing for you, and then a player who played a good game. That's a deadly combination. So she had to go. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
to me, it was an easy decision.
Oh yeah,
And
that's perfect logic.
yeah.
So then we get to final 3, you, Robin, and Sneha. How
Mhm.
surprised were you guys when you found out that it was going to actually be a final 2?
Oh, I thought it was going to be a 2 ever since the merge. I played my whole game based on it was going to be a final 2. If it had not been a final 2, I'd have been in trouble. Because I would have played differently. If it had been a final 3, I would have taken Carl and Robin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would have played that totally different. And the reason why is because I would need to split the votes. In order for me to win with 3, I would have had to take the strongest players, depend on vote splitting between Carl and Robin, and then convincing people to vote for me because I took the toughest people to go, and that I went against the best. And even that would have been a tough sell, but it would have been the only chance that I had.
It's a
So
bold
I would
strategy.
have, yeah, I would have done that. If I had gone to 3, if I had thought it was a 3, I would have taken Carl and Robin.
Okay.
And so I would have had a totally different, I would have had a totally different strategy because I wouldn't have wanted to take Sneha and Robin because I think all of those just would have went to Robin. So I would have had to have another strong player to split those votes up. And then I would have had to steal some votes, uh, which I think I could have done. I think if you give me a final talk with the jury, I think I could have convinced. It'd have been close. It would have been a tight. It would have been a tight vote, but I think I could have pulled it off. But it would have been a whew. It'd have been a close. I
Well, you
would have to have Yeah, I would have had to have Robin do a really good job selling himself, Carl, which I think they would have both done, and then I would have had to done a good job myself and have it all split between us, and it would have had to fall in the right. It would have been close.
yeah, that
It
would have
was
been
a
something
close
to
vote.
watch.
Yeah, it would have been a close vote, but I think it's the only chance I would have had. I don't think it would have been smart for me to take a player who I thought was easy to beat and then one strong player. That just doesn't seem like a very good play. I think I
Yeah.
think in that case I would have stuck with my strong. My strong. We're all targets. Let's all go together, and then let's all fight it out in the end and see who can argue the best and who can make their case the best. Um, I think I could have made a really good case against those 3 in the final, but it would have. I mean, it would have been something because Carl and Robin are both such good players. I mean, it would have been. But it's kind of one of those games where you say, well, what do you respect?
Yeah.
I took the strongest people. I'm going head to head against them. I could have got rid of them. I chose not to. What kind of game do you respect? And maybe they would have respected that. And I said, hey, the power was in my hands. I made this decision. I took 3 strong players to the end. We fought it out. You know, so here we
Yeah.
go. Let's see how the votes fall. But I think that would have been the right move. But it would have been a bold one. It would have been. But that's probably what I would have done if I had thought there were 3.
Yeah.
But um, but and maybe it was faulty logic. But when I saw the tribes merge, I just didn't think, and I know it's possible, but I didn't think they would have it where the votes could end up in a tie. And so I thought that if they went to 3, then theoretically you could end up in a 3-3 tie. And I just didn't think they would do that. And
Yeah.
so I made a gamble. I made a calculated risk, and I thought, and I held that information. I thought that immediately, as soon as we merged. I thought I waited till the merge, saw the numbers, and I thought we're going to 2. and and when it was a 9, and then that would be 7, so there'd be 4-3. It wouldn't end up in a tie. So from then on, I played my whole game assuming it would be a final 2, and
Another,
luckily it turned out that way.
yeah. Another reason why you're a winner, you had this great read already. You didn't have to go to your big 3 plan. Because I mean, a lot of people were so surprised that it was 2, but not you.
Mm-mm. No, I thought from as soon as it got to 9, I thought it's going to be 2. And it was funny because I don't remember when I first brought it up to a player, but I could tell no one had ever thought of it until I brought it up to them. It may have been at 6 or something like that, where I said, well, and at that point, I needed them to realize. See, here's another thing too. I didn't tell them until I needed them to realize it was going to be 2 and not 3, because then I needed them to turn on each other. I needed them to realize, oh my, this is going to be a one-on-one.
Mhm.
And as soon as I got them thinking, yeah, he's right, it is going to be a final 2. I got to get rid of Robin and Carl. I mean, and I needed them to think that. I needed them to feel that way and realize, hey, you're not going against 3 people. You're going to go one-on-one. And so at that point, I realized, hey, these guys, they're not going to want to go one-on-one and Robin are not going to want to go one-on-one against each other. And so at that point, that helped me have them turn on each other.
Yeah.
And it worked because, Carl and Robin were thick as thieves. I mean, I knew that too. I knew that from day one, day zero. I knew they were together. And so that helped too, is getting them to break up, and realize, hey, I'm going to try to take somebody who's not as tough against them. So it worked.
Yeah, it was a great plan. You're in the final two with Sneha.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts going into the night?
Well, I thought that, I was just going to, my main goal at the last tribal council, and of course I thought that, well, I could be in a little bit of danger because she's got a lot of ex-tribe members, on her side. So I'm going to have to convince everyone that I played the better game. And I was going to have to really just go in and lay my case out and really risk offending people and saying, you know what, this is the name of the game. It's who can outplay each other, who can outlast, and who can outwit, and who do you respect? Who did that? And so I laid out my case and said, here's the way I did all these things. And yes, you were my target. You were a good player, and that's why I had to get rid of you. And here's why I did what I did. And if you respect this game, then you will vote for me. If you don't respect this game, then you'll vote for the other person. And I wasn't going to apologize for it. I wasn't going to back down because of it. And I really thought it was going to be a close vote. I thought when I had written down my pad of paper, I thought it was going to be 4-3. I thought it was going to be that close, because I thought there were people who were mad at me, and I just thought, well, they're not going to vote for me, because I just got into a big argument with them, but then when it turned out that, that only one person voted against me, I was shocked, because I really thought it was going to be a 4-3. I mean, just when I was penciling it out, I thought, ooh, this is going to be close. I mean, that's the way I felt. But
you went in and you delivered such a wonderful speech. You were compelling and your arguments were so strong. You were just so well spoken. You absolutely nailed it and fully deserve getting the win and obviously the bulk of the votes. I mean, pretty much all six of the 7 votes.
mm-hmm.
It was so fun to watch. You just delivered such a great final crossroads. And I think the best moment that we all loved watching was the hug at the end. It was just such a fun moment for you guys to share. And it was wonderful.
Yeah, Gideon and I, we just, all 4 of my kids, we're all extremely close. And, it was a very emotional moment for me, because I mean, he was the whole reason I was doing it, when he first brought it up to me as an idea, I thought, Gideon, this is terrible time, or not terrible, but I said, I'm trying to finish my PhD. I've got all this work I'm supposed to be doing. And I've got soccer practice and basketball practice every day. And I said, this is really going to put a squeeze on, but I wanted to do it, because, really because of him and my other kids. We love it so much. I mean, I wanted to play for me too, but I really wanted to do it for them. And then I started feeling this pressure that, oh, what if I let him down and I, I do terrible and I embarrass him. And so but after a while, and then in the middle of the game, I thought, man, am I not playing aggressive enough? Am I embarrassing him by not being And my daughter Daisy, she really told me about midway through the game, after one night, she told me, she said, Dad, you're not playing hard enough. You're not making any moves, And I was like, I know, Daisy, I'm trying, So it was funny, just, trying to think the whole time I'm trying not to embarrass my kids. And, because there was a point in the game where I thought, I'm not doing good enough. I'm not doing what I should be doing, and not controlling the game like I ought to. So, but it all worked out. I just, had to stick with the plan and keep doing what I was doing. That I told my daughter, I said, Daisy, you got to trust me. I know what I'm doing. This is going to work. You've got to trust me. And I told her, I said, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to make some big moves, but I've got to make them at the right time. And so, but in the back of my head, I kept thinking, oh, I hope this works. I hope it goes the way I think it's going to, but it did. So
Yeah. You did the opposite of embarrass your kids. You made them so proud, and Gideon was your biggest cheerleader. He wanted you to play this so bad, and was obviously so thrilled when you won. It was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he really was. All my kids were. When they announced the vote, I heard Daisy. I heard her running up the stairs and screaming to Silas and Faith, "Dad won!" So when I heard that, I mean, I just lost it. I think I started crying right there on the spot because I heard Daisy just running up the stairs cheering that I had won the game. Yeah, it was
Oh, I
it
love
was
that.
emotional. It really was. So it's something we all love. We all love the game. We all watch it together, and they've all rewatched all the seasons. That Christy, my wife, and I, that it just used to be the two of us. When we first got married and first watched the first season, it was just two of us. Now, 23 years later and 4 kids later,
Yeah. Wow.
we
Yeah, that's crazy to like reflect on how long it's been on, that it just started as you and your wife, and now you have kids in college, and it's still running because it's so damn good.
oh, I know, I love it. I love the show. I still love it. Can't wait till a new season comes. Still wish I could be on the show. I might turn out to be like a Rudy character or something, some super old guy get on there. But I mean, and it's funny, but I work out every day and jog about 5 miles a day and try to stay in shape because, for lots of reasons. But one of the reasons in the back of my head is thinking maybe one day I'll get on Survivor and I've got to be in shape. I can't just not be able to compete good in challenges and be a target, So maybe someday
Yeah,
I'll get on that show. It'd be great.
I could see that in your future for sure. Um,
It would be a dream come true.
when you were playing this, you didn't tell anyone that Gideon was your son who was on the previous season, right?
No. I thought that would make me a target.
That's
Yeah, I thought that would be a bad move.
Yeah, I think I remember one of the first nights when I was modding, someone had asked about previous seasons, and you were just like so nonchalant, like, "Oh, I don't know how they did it." I think they probably did it this way, but I don't. I've only seen like a couple episodes.
Yeah, it made me nervous. I thought, oh, if anyone's watched the episode, because I'm in the background, of some of the, I never really was until we were taken to school in New York. And there was really just no place else for us to go,
Yeah.
and so Christy and I, my wife, we're sitting there on the bed watching Gideon, and there was just really nowhere else to go. And so, yeah, I thought, oh boy, if anybody's paying a lick of attention. And I did. And it's funny because I did some things that uh, this is really sneaky of me. I did a couple things to try to even alter my appearance. I lost about 30 pounds before the show. And also, like, these are just reading glasses. And most of the time I don't wear these, but on the show, I made sure that I wore them and I pulled them up high like they were just regular glasses, so that to try to change the image that I had too. And so I tried to make it where they wouldn't notice me as much, because like I said, I only wear these to read in.
And
So in the game, I just kept them on all the time, like they were just regular glasses I wore. Because normally when I walk around, I don't wear glasses. So I would just, normally I would just walk around like this, like in the show, or most time they hang down like this, where I'm just using them to read when I'm just reading something. But in the game, I just pulled them up and tried to act like they were normal glasses, just trying to do anything I could to throw anybody from recognizing me.
you lost 30 pounds just for this?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
dedication.
that's when I started getting more serious about my running, and and I was doing it every night, and I went on a diet, and and I was trying to change the way I look, but just out of the fear that somebody would recognize me and think I'm Gideon's dad, and I thought that would make me a target because Gideon's a good player, and if that's Gideon's dad, then you know
Yeah, like
we got
father
we got
than
to get
son.
that guy out. Yeah, I thought it would hurt me if anyone knew that that he was my dad. I mean, that I'm his dad. So I thought that would put a target on me. So I tried to do everything I could not to let that happen.
That's so
Which, as far as
funny.
I know, no one ever said anything to me about Gideon or any connection. If anyone ever knew it, then it's news to me. So,
No. Well, first of all, that's just such dedication. Like, again, another reason why you're the winner of this season. Like, you put your attention to all these little details. But yeah, so it's actually funny when I was talking to Robin, I had asked him, I was like, did you have any idea that Gideon was Trent's son? He was like, no, no one knew the whole season. But the final crossroads, I was a little tipped off by that. He's like, I watch everything that's going on. I even look at the mods in the screen. And he was like, I noticed final crossroads, Gideon's here. And Gideon hadn't been modding the whole season. He was like, that's weird. Like, why is he just coming tonight? And then as soon as he ran out and hugged you, he was like, it all connected.
yeah, yeah, that's something. So yeah, I'm proud of Gideon, and he's just. I thought he was an amazing player, even though we had two totally different styles, and we didn't play the game at all alike, But I mean, he had different. He was at the bottom, bless his heart. He was at the bottom the whole time he was playing. He just, he was in a terrible spot the whole time. So I remember. I guess it was the second maybe it was the second episode when he was playing. He came downstairs and he just said, "I'm in trouble, Dad."
Oh,
He said he was upset. He came and said, I'm in a lot of trouble." And we went and walked, talked about it and tried to talk about what he could do to get out of the bottom, but because he loves the game so much, and he just wanted to play so hard, and I'm proud of him. He's a great kid, and I got four great kids. I'm so blessed, and I got two great daughters, and like I said, Daisy was my main strategist,
oh,
and she was my partner that we always talked about. Silas would help me relieve stress. We ran together every night, and then Daisy and I would strategize together. And then, like I said, Faith would, she would help me train with the training rooms that they created before the game even started. Because I'd never used Discord before. So
oh
Faith and Daisy, yeah, they had a little training room for me so I could learn how to navigate around Discord, to prepare for the game. And
that
so
is so cool.
they were all big help to me. So it was kind of a family affair. Getting me, to apply, and of course he was off at school in New York, so we're here in Tennessee, and he's far, far away. But anyway, I'm super proud of him, and I'm proud of all my kids. They're all just fantastic, great. My wife, she's awesome. So
Oh, I love how involved your family was in all of this. This is just, it's so nice to hear, and it just like adds to all the reasons why we all loved you so much. And you should be proud of your kids. You should be proud of yourself. You were absolutely wonderful to have on the show. We all loved you. You were a fan favorite from
oh,
everybody.
thank you.
And we all loved Gideon too. And we're also thrilled that we got the chance to have both of you guys play. Um, and we would definitely love to see you in the future. Would you come back if we asked you?
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be, you're a fellow winner too, and that puts an automatic target on you. You know that. So it'd be tough. I mean, it would be, whew, it'd be tough. But yeah, I'm always up for it.
Yeah.
So and Gideon definitely. I'm sure Gideon would be too. I mean, we're just such big fans, you know, even though I'm sure I would be at a huge disadvantage, you know, because there's no hiding now, you know, once you've won the game, you know, nobody can say, well, you know, he's kind of flying under the radar, you know, so that's tough.
You're just gonna have to
But
change your appearance again. Maybe dye your hair,
yeah,
get a fake
that's it.
beard.
Yeah, you gotta. Well, there's always a way. I mean, there's always a way to, you know,
Exactly.
it just you just have to play really, really smart and hard, and also make it in other people's best interest, you know, to work with you. But it would
Exactly.
definitely be a challenge. It definitely would be a, you know, but it would just be so much fun
Yeah.
anyway,
And I think
especially if I could play with Gideon. So that
and
would be worth it.
I think if anyone could navigate having a winner's target, it is probably you.
I would try. I would do my best, but you know, I mean, I guess that's the first thing is realizing that it would be there. Woo, it'd be something, but it'd be fun to try. It'd be fun.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for talking with us tonight. This has been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
I tell you what, I had a great time, and and seriously, I can say this now that the game's over, and you know, sincerely mean it. The people that I got to play with were amazing players. I mean, they really were. They, you know, so many of them could have won that game. Uh, so many smart people, so many talented people, so many likable people. I mean, I just had a great group to play with, and it made the season a lot of fun. People that I really like them. I mean, I really like all those people, and you know, maybe Robin and I'll get to see a baseball game together someday. And sometime, I was born in Washington D.C., so I've always thought about I might get to go down there someday and see Carl, and
Yeah.
you know, reconnect, and Arliana, and I hope Arliana and I can sometimes sit down and talk to each other and say, hey, you know, you really were my partner, and we really, you know, it was sincere, and it wasn't anything. It was just a bad misunderstanding that caused this, you know, unfortunate split there, you know, because like I said, I really respect her, and really, you know, she was my closest ally. And but I mean, I liked everyone in the game. Even though I wanted to get rid of Jon Snow, I liked him. I liked him as a person, and I thought, you know, if in a different circumstance, I would have loved to play with him in a game. I mean, just everyone. I mean, we just had a really great group of people, and so I feel really blessed, and I appreciate everybody on your end for inviting me and letting me play, because you know, it was a dream come true, and I'm just you know, I'm honored that I got to play, and if you ever need me again in the future, you know, hey, I'm always up for it. So thank you for everything. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, so this has been the first of the Summit series. Awesome closeout to Kilimanjaro, and we will see everyone soon for a future season.
All
Good
right.
night.
Thank you. Good night.